Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I want to review a MLC letter. Yes, I know, another one. We want to break this one down because you know how we always do this debunking bullshit segment. Of course, there's plenty of bullshit always to debunk. So here we go. I'm going to just jump right into this because we're going to try to break this down possibly in 2 videos because there is a lot to say and I just don't want you to get bored with listening to me for 30 minutes. So let's jump right on over to the document. And here's the Municipal Labor Committee's letterhead. So everything in yellow we identified as a false statement. If it's something underlined, we want to draw attention to it as it could be misleading. So you have the top of your stationery, the address at 55 Water Street. We do want to announce to you that after doing some research on this location, it appears 55 Water Street is owned by the state of Alabama. So yes, the Municipal Labor Committee and DC 37, the union, are paying rent to the state of Alabama pension system, an anti-union right-to-work state. And that's super important for you to know exactly what that means, because they do not support unions in the state of Alabama. So what that means is Alabama being a right-to-work state, that they bar unions and employers from agreeing to create or maintain either union shops or agency shops through collective bargaining. Great going, guys. So let's just jump into the letter because that will be a whole nother video all on its own. So the first highlighted statement is attack on collective bargaining. Of course, this is not an attack on collective bargaining, but hell, what else do they have to do other than try to scare and intimidate people like they've been doing for the last 2 years? This says the MLC, together with the undersigned coalition of union representatives, nice to know you can form a coalition still, urge you to oppose Intro 1099-2023 as it represents an attack on fundamental tenets of collective bargaining under the Taylor Law and the New York City Collective Bargaining Law. The bill would set a dangerous precedent in its illegal and ill-advised effort to detrimentally restrict the rights of unions to negotiate retiree health benefits. Now, let's just take a pause right there, because the unions that you will see on this letter are not subject to the Taylor Law and are not subject to New York City Collective Bargaining Law. They also would not be subject to Intro 1099-2023, which is why we don't know why they're on this letter. It was almost like this was like a political hatchet job, that they wanted to intimidate the speaker to say, look at all these big unions who give money to the city council. If you don't do what we say, I guess that's going to dry up. Kind of living up to what Henry threatened back in June, right? So leave it at that as self-explanatory. Let's move on. State and local law make health benefits received in retirement a mandatory subject of bargaining. Unions and their government employers have a statutory duty to negotiate the scope of benefits received when the employees retire. Now, usually, yes, I would say I agree. Active unions have a mandatory subject of bargaining, collective bargaining right to negotiate for their active workers. They also have a right to negotiate their active workers' future retirement benefits. What they don't have the right to do is diminish the benefit of a retiree, someone who's not in their bargaining unit. To say that they have a right to diminish the benefit of a retiree and use that value in collective bargaining to benefit an active worker, that is criminal. That is literally stealing from someone. We believe, as we showed you in the Labor Law Series 101, there were 3 videos. I believe if you go back to the first, the National Labor Relations Board, the attorney and the judge are having a discourse about, would it ever be realized that a union would diminish a benefit of a retiree? And the attorney for the union said, oh, no, Your Honor, that would never happen. No union would do that. That would be a 301 violation, a contract violation, breach of contract, and a fiduciary failure, a failure to represent, a fiduciary failure of bargaining. So what are they doing here? Exactly what they did 50 years ago, said that they would never do. So it's actually interesting to see that this is what has happened. It's not just interesting, it's actually quite sad. As recognized by the Court of Appeals, the rights of retirees to such benefits are defined by the agreements originally reached by their unions when those employees were active. But that doesn't give you the right to diminish that benefit today. We were promised and paid for traditional federal Medicare. By taking away all of our choices of plans and forcing us into the plan that you want to strip the value for your own personal collective bargaining use, that's not going to fly. And I think a lot more unions, if they understood exactly what you were actually alluding to, would not agree with you. For more than half a century, this New York City Municipal Labor Committee, a statutorily created body, have negotiated health benefits applicable to in-service and retired city workers with the understanding that such benefits may be adjusted as part of future collective bargaining. Oh, hell no. First of all, this sentence is like missing a few words. It's not more than a half a century. The Municipal Labor Committee does not have a collective bargaining certificate. They have no legal right or jurisdiction within the city of New York in order to collectively bargain. The only one that has a legal right to collectively bargain is the unions that hold a bargaining certificate. So for not more than half a century, you've been collective bargaining. Sorry, guys, whoever wrote this letter doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. The unions have negotiated bargaining. The unions have negotiated benefits. And never, ever was there an understanding that benefits would be adjusted as part of future collective bargaining. Because if anyone knew that a union would roll back a benefit earned by a worker in retirement, they would probably not pay you union dues. A union has a fiduciary responsibility to the people that they represent. You made a promise to us, as the judge had stated in his decision, and we so rightly proved in court. Unions should be building the labor movement by solidarity and unity, not by subtraction and division and separating people and pitting them against the active workers. That's not what you're there for. And I know I say it jokingly all the time, but clearly many of these unions have become corporatists and not union leaders. And that's a shame. That is a shame. The proposed bill would not only reach into and rewrite those established collective bargaining agreements, that's a lie too, because healthcare for the city of New York is codified in statute. That's why almost all collective bargaining agreements don't have any mention of healthcare. And if they do, it basically reiterates the administrative code. We've gone through over 300 of them, we know. But it would illegally curtail the ability of the city unions to exercise their state law right to fully negotiate retiree health benefits for in-service and retired employees going forward. As such, the substance of this bill is preempted by state law and it is illegal. So I'm going to say this is all a lie, because you do have the ability to negotiate health care benefits or any benefits. You do have collective bargaining rights. However, you don't have the right to roll back or reduce or diminish a benefit to someone who's not in your unit. Go ahead and diminish your own benefits. God bless you, but don't touch ours. So this is another lie. And it is not preempted and it is not illegal. Mayor Giuliani made this same argument 20 years ago when the last amendment to 12-126 was made. The council overrode his veto and it has not been challenged in a court of law since. You want to challenge it? Let's do this. Pass the law, challenge it in court, and let a judge make a decision. I'll see you in court. Second page. While this bill was introduced under the guise of protecting retiree health benefits, it actually threatens them. History has shown that when benefits are removed from collective bargaining in favor of legislative control, they are subject to unilateral reduction. Look at the lessons learned when the state legislature removed public employee benefits, pension benefits from collective bargaining. Despite the fact that pensions, unlike retiree health benefits, enjoy state constitutional protection, the legislature has consistently reduced benefits for each new tier. Okay, this is a whole bunch of mishigas. Unfortunately, back after the fiscal crisis of the 70s, there was a period of time when pension benefits were escalating at a very rapid rate. And in order to keep the taxpayers' money in sunshine so that they knew exactly how things were being negotiated, they made pension benefits legislated, not collectively bargained. Now, obviously, we can agree on something. Tier 6 sucked, right? We all agree on that. However, that became your floor. Unions could have gone back in, and you have to fix tier 6. That is using your bargaining power, your legislative power. Your unions recognized there was an issue and you went and fixed that. And it had to be done that way to protect them, because pensions couldn't be protected in collective bargaining, for exactly why healthcare can't be protected by collectively bargaining, because you were bargaining it away and you don't even represent retirees. This is why statute is required. And this is also why 12-126 gave healthcare benchmarks in law, not collectively bargaining. Remember, collective bargaining came back in 1966 officially, but you were bargaining for years before that, even going back to the 30s. However, 12-126 was legislated in 1967. If it was illegal now, it was illegal then. And it wasn't. It was put in law for a purpose, to protect it. Health benefits would not even require tiers, and if removed from the full scope of bargaining, could be legislatively changed for all. Hey guys, I'm thinking you're having a cognitive impairment. When you went to do Intro 874 in January, you were actually creating tiers of classes of individuals that you didn't even define. You were creating haves and have-nots. Those who had money in their pensions to buy up could. Those who didn't got screwed. Sorry, that's a lie. That's exactly what you were doing. We are trying to keep it equitable. Finally, besides being illegal, the bill is fundamentally flawed. It fails to provide a funding source for an indefinite obligation of unknown scope and cost, and prevents the city and the unions from responding to changes in cost, federal law, and vendor offering in a responsible manner. Accordingly, Intro 1099 is violative of law and should not be permitted to proceed. Sincerely, everything there is a lie, including sincerely, because you're not sincere about anything unless you're sincerely screwing us. So the bill is not flawed. It adds a little letter E, you know, A, B, C, D, E. It adds a little E that says that the city will provide a supplemental plan to Medicare eligible retirees. And the second sentence says that nothing in this bill would impair the unions from collectively bargaining for those in their unit. If you go back up to the top of 12-126, it says the city will pay the full cost of health insurance up to the HIP HMO for every employee, retiree, and their dependent. Psst, it's funded, and it's been funded since 1967. So the only people that are on this letter is from the MLC, the MLC 5, Harry Nispoli, Henry Garrido, Michael Mulgrew, Greg Floyd, and Gloria Middleton. That's it. Mario Salento is president of the New York State AFL-CIO. He doesn't return our phone calls either. Vinny Alvarez is president of the New York City Central Labor Council. He doesn't return our phone calls either. But his website and even the AFL's website both say that their websites denounce privatization of Medicare or reduction of benefit of Medicare. Okay, so that's very interesting that they're signing on to this letter and they're not making a statement about what the people in the MLC had just been putting us through for the last 2 years. In closing, all of these unions are all mostly private sector unions. They're not in the MLC. They're not subject to the New York State Taylor Law. They're not subject to New York City collective bargaining. And they're also not subject to Intro 1099. And I will tell you, one of the unions on this already called us and told us that they did not give their permission to sign this letter. Thank you, IBEW Local 3, for reaching out to us that you did not give yourself permission to be on this letter and you do not endorse it. We do recognize Local 3 does support that our retirees' benefits should be protected in retirement. A promise made should be a promise kept. All right, so I lied. I rushed this in 15 minutes, I think, and I'm going to call it here. That is your run through on this letter. Feel free to go back and rewatch it. I will put a link to it in the description. So drop down, you'll see description. You feel free to click that link down there and you can read the letter all on your own. Please share this with other members. Let them see what the city is trying to do to us. And then we got more information coming, because clearly they must be scared that not a single 100-something unions could be on that letter from within the MLC, but they put 15 unions that are not even in the MLC and are not even affected by this whatsoever to say, don't do this to those. Don't do this. Listen to us, because otherwise we'll stop funding you, or whatever their threat is. Insecurity is showing. Tuck it in, guys.